The regular man has always questioned the unknown, especially what lays beyond our everyday experiences. But the men in black don't want you to know. In particular, since the mid-20th century, people all over the world have recounted experiences of unexplainable phenomena, things they allegedly have seen, heard, and felt, whether intentionally or unintentionally witnessed. Often an authority would come under the guise of easing their minds and to let them know that everything was under control. Rather than offering answers, however, these men in black instead sought to sow doubt. What you saw was not what you thought it was. The Collection Agency. In 1967, Robert Richardson was driving his car at night in Toledo, Ohio, when he hit something, an unidentified object which he claimed vanished almost immediately after the collision. Upon examining the area where his skid marks came to an abrupt stop, Richardson found and collected an unusual lump of metal. Richardson sent the evidence to the APRO, the Aerial Phenomena Research Organization, a UFO research institution, for analysis, and was soon allegedly visited by two mysterious men in black. Both men reportedly arrived at 11 p.m. in a 1953 black Cadillac with unregistered plates, wearing identical black hats and sunglasses. They did not provide any identification, nor did Richardson ask for it. He simply assumed they were authority figures due to their attire and demeanor. They behaved in a friendly manner and questioned him about the incident for around 10 minutes. Richardson also claimed that just 1 week after that initial encounter, he was visited at home again by two different men who he described as either olive-skinned or using makeup to make them appear so. They wore black suits and sunglasses. He noted that he felt they were foreign, although one of them spoke American English as if it were his mother tongue, and the other had a thick accent. Once more, they did not provide any identification, and this time they tried to convince him that he never crashed with anything at all. They proceeded to demand he turn over the metal he found, though. When he explained that it was undergoing testing, he was reportedly told, quote, "If you want your wife to stay as pretty as she is, then you'd better get the metal back." Richardson had not informed anyone other than his wife and APRO about the metal he found, which made him believe that either his phone or the APRO line had been tapped. The men finally left in an unusual model Cadillac with unregistered plates. Upon subsequent research, Richardson could find no such model car that had ever been produced. Despite the threat, he did not cancel the metal analysis, but the results came back inconclusive. Richardson never heard from the men in black again. Are you alone? Dr. Herbert Hopkins was acting as a consultant on a UFO abduction case in Maine in 1976 when he received a phone call asking if he was by himself. His wife and children had gone out, and he was indeed alone. The caller identified himself as the vice president of the New Jersey UFO Research Organization, and he wanted to discuss Hopkins' investigation. The man asked if he may visit Dr. Hopkins, who in turn agreed, unaware that the man would immediately appear at the door as if he'd been watching from across the street. There was no identifiable car he could have come from, and the road had no nearby public telephone. While Dr. Hopkins found himself uncharacteristically letting the man in without asking for a name, his dog barked and then hid in a closet, which Dr. Hopkins didn't think much of in the moment. The stranger wore an excessively baggy, tailored black suit over a black shirt and tie. He was hairless and had a, quote, smooth plastic skin that was a, quote, dead white color. Dr. Hopkins would also later describe the man's facial characteristics as highly unusual. The visitor had a tiny nose, small, low-set ears, and an oddly receded chin. Speaking from a mouth that appeared to be only a narrow opening masked with bright red lipstick, he ordered Hopkins to destroy his UFO files. As a threat, the stranger then dematerialized a coin in Dr. Hopkins' hand, telling him it would never be seen, quote, on this plane again. The man in black referenced a deceased UFO abductee, claiming that just as that person no longer had a heart, Dr. Hopkins no longer had a coin. The stranger then excused himself, claiming to be low on energy, and exited the house. Dr. Hopkins allegedly saw a bright bluish light on the driveway through a window. By the time he reached the porch, the only thing left were tracks similar to those of a truck, a vehicle that couldn't fit in his driveway. It was only after the visit was done did the doctor feel unhinged. He was so terrified that he destroyed the files. While he was never visited again, he reported strange occurrences at his home. His telephone would often seem to be dead or full of static when picked up. Patients said that calls would never be answered or that they would get a message stating the phone was out of service. His local phone company confirmed his phone line was being tampered with, but had no way of determining how or by whom. When contacted, the New Jersey UFO Research Organization claimed that the man in black was not one of their employees. Number 9 and number 10. On a bright 1964 summer day, Jim Templeton captured an unexplained astronaut figure in this photo of his daughter. He took the photo while visiting the Berg Marsh, which overlooks the Solway Firth near his home in England. The figure in the picture became publicized as the Solway Firth spaceman. Templeton claims that he did not see the mysterious being at the time, and analysts at Kodak confirmed the film was genuine. After the story went public, Templeton was supposedly visited by 2 men claiming to work for the government and demanding to be taken to the site. The agents refused to identify themselves beyond the names number 9 and number 10 while questioning Templeton about the event. When Templeton insisted he had not seen the figure, the men became angry, left him alone in the field, and were never seen again. It has been suggested that the unidentified figure may be his wife, overexposed in the image. Still, such a claim cannot be confirmed. The real Men in Black. In 1979, Paul Frederick Benowitz Jr. contacted the U.S. Air Force about observing strange lights in the sky and picking up weird radio noises. Benowitz was a business owner and a UFO investigator, convinced that the phenomenon was extraterrestrial. However, the Air Force realized he was tracking secret test flights. To throw Benowitz off his discovery, officials set him up to meet with 2 men in black. They encouraged him to dig deeper into his alien theories. Benowitz was surveilled for years, fed false information, and given a computer program that decoded the signals. All of this was reportedly conducted through communication with U.S. Air Force Office of Special Investigations agent Richard Doty. In particular, Doty was instructed to convince Benowitz of an incoming alien invasion, since he had been investigating secret Air Force projects. One of the alleged goals of the Air Force was to discredit Benowitz, which is why they provided him with fake leads. The agent reportedly broke into the man's house and office on multiple occasions to lay misdirecting clues. The second goal the Air Force had reportedly tasked its agent with was driving Benowitz insane. In 1988, Benowitz was finally committed to a mental health facility for paranoia, having convinced himself of an alien invasion plot. In the dark. On a harsh winter night in 1961, Paul Miller was returning home from a hunting trip with 3 friends when he reportedly saw a hovering, quote, luminous silo. After seemingly disappearing and reappearing, creatures began to emerge from it. A frightened Miller fired his gun when the 2 humanoid creatures emerged from it. He claimed to have injured one of them. Despite Miller believing he wounded one of the creatures, the men ran away towards his home. Miller claims the entire group experienced a blackout of 3 lost hours while fleeing down a rural road. When Miller returned to his Air Force job the next day, 3 men in black forced their way into his office, claiming they had his file. They asked questions about the encounter, but seemed to know the answers before he shared them. They showed particular interest in the clothes he had been wearing during the incident and asked to inspect them. He complied and took them to his house, from where they departed after looking at the clothes. Miller mentioned the UFO to no one, not immediately after the incident, and not for many years after. Yet the mysterious men who showed up at his workplace repeatedly implied they knew about the totality and details of the incident. They warned him that his story was, quote,